Hi everybody, this is Erik Halterman of RotoWire.com here with another set of fantasy baseball waiver wire pickups. We'll start on the mound today with Giants righty Logan Webb. If you haven't thought much about Webb prior to this year, I don't really blame you. He wasn't an elite prospect and he had an ERA of just .536 in 94 innings over the last two seasons. He's only thrown 61 frames this season due to shoulder issues, but he's had some very promising numbers. A .354 ERA that's backed by ERA estimators that most of them sit in the low threes. The main thing he does well is generate an elite number of ground balls. If you set the minimum to 60 innings pitched, his 60.6% ground ball rate is second in the league, trailing only Framber Valdez of the Astros. And among the 28 pitchers in that group who have a ground ball rate over 50%, his 25.3% strikeout rate is the sixth highest. So it's pretty special to have that combination of skills. There are some innings concerns given how the Giants use their pitchers, but he has gone at least 5 innings in 8 of 13 starts. And the Giants are a good enough team this year that they should give him quite a good shot at wins when he does reach that 5-inning threshold. To top that off, he does it all in a pitcher-friendly park there in San Francisco. So not the longest track record for Webb and not a ton of prospect pedigree, but it's hard to ignore what he's shown so far this season. We'll move on to another pitcher in the American League. That would be Tigers lefty Tarik Skooble. Skooble's a guy who I actually featured in a past video, but he's stayed hot and is still available in over 60% of the ESPN.com leagues. So I think he deserves another mention here until he's on a roster almost everywhere. And I really do think he is the kind of pitcher that should be usable in pretty much every format. He was very exciting in the minors. Over his minor league career, he had a .211 ERA backed by an incredible 37.2% strikeout rate. But in his debut season last year through April of this year, he was pretty ordinary. A .583 ERA with that strikeout rate falling all the way down to 23.1% and a shockingly low 24.8% ground ball rate. When you allow an average amount of contact and that much of the contact's in the air, things aren't going to go well, and they didn't. But he changed his pitch mix pretty dramatically after his final start of April this year. He scrapped his splitter entirely, and he backed off his usage of his four-seamer, and then he added in both a changeup and a sinker. And the results seem great. It seems like an excellent decision. .359 ERA since that point. Strikeout rate shot all the way up to 29.8%. And the ground ball rate is still below average, but at 40.5% is a completely normal mark. Given that his significantly better ERA comes with both a change in pitch mix and significantly better peripherals, I think there's every reason to buy into Skooble as quite a good starter down the stretch. We'll move now to a pair of hitters, starting with Twins catcher Mitch Garver. Garver was quite tough to value heading into the year because he was excellent in 2019 and terrible in 2020 while battling injuries. But those who did have faith in them heading into this season have dropped him in many places because he missed nearly 7 weeks with a groin injury. He only returned for 2 games this week before leaving again on paternity leave, but that should be a very brief absence. He hit 2 homers in those 2 games, and he now has 10 homers and 143 plate appearances on the season. If you prorate that to 600 plate appearances, that's 42 homers, which is some serious pop. It's a little bit below the 52 homers per 600 plate appearances he managed in that incredible 2019 season, but it's still an excellent number at any position, not just catcher. He's still striking out 31.5% of the time this year, so don't expect his .230 batting average to increase by all that much, but it seems like the power is real given that he's shown, again, elite level pop 2 of the last 3 seasons. Moving out to the outfield, we'll finish this week's video with Cardinals outfielder Harrison Bader. Heading into this season, Bader was just a lifetime .234 hitter with some power and some speed, but it didn't look like he would get you much more than 15 to 18 homers and steals if he played a full season. He is not going to play a full season this year because he missed most of April with a forearm injury, then all of June plus a little bit more with a hairline fracture in his ribs. But what he's shown in the 37 games that he's been available for is definitely worth taking note of. He's got that batting average all the way up to .276, which seems like a sustainable change given that his strikeout rate dropped from 29.1% prior to this year to just 15.5% this year. So he's almost cut that strikeout rate in half. He's overperforming his expected batting average of 252 by a fair amount, but he does have good speed, so I think he should be expected to overperform that number going forward. That speed has helped him steal 5 bases so far, and he's paired that with 6 homers. Those numbers translate to roughly 25 homers and 21, 22 steals over the course of a full season. So a guy who's the equivalent of a 2020 threat with a now respectable batting average is somebody who's definitely worth a look in most fantasy outfields.